And joining me now is Democratic Senator Tim Kaine of Virginia. Senator Kaine, welcome back to Meet the Press. Happy Easter.
And thanks to you, Kristen. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your being here. Let's start with that breaking news overnight. The fact that the U.S. military was able to rescue that second pilot that was down in enemy lines in Iran. What was your reaction to learning the news, Senator?
Overwhelming relief. Our Easter service at my church was last night, and I know that was a prayer on virtually everybody's minds during the service. And so to wake up this morning and hear about the rescue of the pilot, so very grateful for that, for the service of the search and rescue teams. Kristen, this is why the president and Secretary Hegseth's rhetoric about no mercy, no quarter, death from above, bomb you to the Stone Ages, this kind of rhetoric is really dangerous because the likelihood of having downed pilots or others who are captured in a war like this is very high. Mm-hmm. And if you send the message that there's no quarter for the folks on the other side, that really encourages them to mistreat our folks. And so I hope the White House, I doubt the president will, but please dial back the rhetoric because you don't need to put people like these pilots more at risk by the rhetoric that you use.
Well, you raised the rhetoric. Let me ask you about some of the president's rhetoric this morning, posting on Truth Social, quote, "Open the strait, you blank bastards." Do you think that is an effective negotiation tactic?
No, the bombing them back to the Stone Age, cursing them, Secretary Hegseth saying, you know, it's death from above, no mercy, no quarter. We will ignore stupid rules of engagement. This is all embarrassing and juvenile. And it's people trying to act like they're puffed up and tough when what we really see from the administration in this war is the absence of a plan, the absence of a clear rationale, no effort to get allies on board, and thus deep unpopularity of this war with the American public. I know that's the case in Virginia. I was traveling around Virginia all last week, and I'll be doing the same this week. People see this president as having blundered into a war with no clear rationale, and there's no amount of cursing or boasting or tough talk that will cover up for the fact that this president didn't have a rationale and he doesn't really have a plan.
Well, let me drill down with you on the Strait of Hormuz, obviously a major flashpoint. I know that you want this war to come to an end, but Senator, would you support ending this war before the strait is reopened?
I think we need to end this war as soon as possible. We don't need to deploy more Americans into harm's way in a war that lacked a rationale and that lacked a plan. And then we'll work with allies and others to figure out the situation in the Strait. Thank goodness the United States is less reliant on oil from the Middle East because we built up a strong domestic energy industry. The president shouldn't try to cripple the clean energy industry in the way that he's doing it. Let's focus on growing American energy. And I think when the war ends, you'll start to get the relief at the price tag at the pump for Americans who are paying too much. The president promised to end foreign wars and bring down prices. He's initiating wars, raising prices, and now claiming he's got to cut Medicaid, Medicare, and other programs to fund his wars. That's not the way we ought to be going.
Well, let me ask you about what comes next, Senator. President Trump asking Congress for $1.5 trillion for the military, a $500 billion increase from the military budget last year. Would you support that spending if deemed necessary for military readiness?
Kristen, I have a hard time seeing that size of an increase as being justified. The president sent that over Friday. As you know, I'm on the Armed Services Committee and we'll be taking a look at it. But here's a question we have to ask, which is, it's not just about the dollars, it's about the Pentagon managing the money. You just watched the Secretary of Defense fire very respected Army leadership in the middle of a war, respected leadership on both sides of the aisle in both houses. And there's deep questions about why. Many suspect that Secretary Hegseth was just trying to move people out of the way that he viewed as personally threatening to his leadership. Maybe they were being candid to him with advice that he didn't like. And so I don't think Congress is going to be in a mood to write a blank check to a leadership team, a civilian leadership team that seems so inept these days.
So you're a no right now, Senator?
Well, the president, all he has sent us is the number. We don't have the details. The good news is the Armed Services Committee is going to start having hearings in April, May, before we write the bill in June. Needless to say, we have a lot of questions to ask, and the administration has a whole lot of explaining to do.
Let me ask you, because since the start of this war, you have co-sponsored 5 war powers resolutions, 2 of which have failed on the floor. Your colleague, your Republican colleague, Senator John Curtis, said he actually won't support more funding without a formal declaration of war from Congress. Senator, do you think you have enough Republican support to get a resolution to pass, given what you're hearing from Senator Curtis?
Well, I was pleased to hear that from Senator Curtis, because it shows that he takes the Constitution seriously, that we shouldn't be at a war, particularly a war of this magnitude, without a vote of Congress. I would welcome that debate on the floor. I don't see more war after 25 years of unproductive war in the Middle East. I don't see it as a good idea. That's why I think this war is illegal. But if we have that debate on the floor and a majority of my colleagues thinks we ought to be at war, I'll still think it's unwise, but I will at least say it's legal, it's constitutional. The problem we have now is a war that is both illegal and unwise. Senator Curtis is suggesting, hey, it's time for Congress to really get in and make sure that there's a plan here that the American public can support.
Let me ask you about another major flashpoint, NATO, the new tensions between President Trump and NATO. Of course, the NATO Secretary General poised to visit Washington this week. You co-authored the law designed to prevent any president from pulling out of NATO unilaterally with then Senator Marco Rubio. Do you think if President Trump tries to withdraw from NATO, Congress will be able to block him and that Republicans would be on board with that?
Kristen, I do. This was a bill that I actually introduced with Senator John McCain. I think it was one of his last bills before he died. And then Senator Rubio picked it up as the chief Republican after Senator McCain died. We got it passed in, I believe, the end of 2023, a very important bill. The president cannot withdraw from NATO without support of Congress. We are stronger with allies than when we're operating on our own. And if the president were to announce, I'm withdrawing from NATO, it would be like Donald Trump saying the sun will come up in the west tomorrow. It would be an irrelevant falsehood. He can't withdraw without us. However, he has hurt NATO badly by imposing tariffs on NATO countries without any consultation, by waging wars that are affecting the economies of NATO nations without any consultation. And now he's blaming them for not coming to the U.S. aid with respect to the Straits. Elementary human relations. If you want help from somebody, work with them. Don't kick them around, and then when you're in trouble, ask them for help. That's what President Trump is doing now, and that's why it's not working.
All right, let's turn to the fight, the funding fight over the Department of Homeland Security, which is now closed. As you know, the Senate passed a bill, which the House is now signaling it will support when it's back in session. It's worth noting, though, Senator, this bill does not include the reforms to ICE that Democrats were demanding, which include no masks, requiring judicial warrants. What exactly did Democrats get out of this shutdown, Senator?
Well, Kristen, the deal was what Democrats had been putting on the table for weeks. There was no need for the shutdown. There was no need for TSA lines. We basically said to the Republicans, let's fund all the DHS agencies at the levels we've all agreed on. We've worked it out in a bipartisan way with 2 majority Republican houses, except ICE and CBP, which need reform. And the Republicans had pre-funded ICE and CBP activities, so nobody was losing paychecks in those agencies. So you're right, we have proposed funding everything except ICE and CBP. They can use their pre-funding, and we will continue the reform discussion. And you're right, we don't yet have those reforms, but we have a wind at our back because we know the American public strongly believes that these federal agencies should follow the same standards that local law enforcement agencies follow. ID, no masks, have a warrant before you enter somebody's homes. These are enormously popular. So we think we can make headway on getting reforms because the American public is with us on the reforms we're seeking.
Well, there was a similar outcome in November after the longest government shutdown. In fact, you were one of 8 senators who did negotiate with Republicans to reopen the government. The fight at that point was over Obamacare subsidies, but Democrats never actually got an extension of those Obamacare subsidies. Do you acknowledge that Democrats have yet to gain anything tangible from these shutdowns?
Well, the first in November, my negotiation was on a different point: protection for federal employees from all the firings and rifts that the administration was conducting. And I got thousands and thousands of federal employees returned to work, which for Virginia was a big deal. That was something that I negotiated in the fall shutdown that was extremely helpful. Look, shutdowns are not good. I don't think they're certainly not winning for the nation. And again, that's why Democrats put on the table weeks and weeks ago, no need for a shutdown. Let's fund the agencies we've agreed on and keep a reform discussion going with ICE. It does sound like finally the House will agree to do what the Senate agreed to unanimously now 2 weeks ago. I hope they will do it. Then we'll continue the reform discussion. And all of these questions, whether it's ICE or the Republican efforts to slash health care, President Trump saying because of fighting wars, we're going to need to cut Medicaid, Medicare, child care. These will all be matters on the voters' minds this November.
All right, Senator, very quickly before I let you go, President Trump fired his Attorney General, Pam Bondi. You are someone who's actually voted yes on some of his nominees, including former DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Are you open to voting yes on President Trump's pick to become the next Attorney General?
I never start off as an automatic no. We'll see who the president proposes. If you get elected as president, I think that should carry a mandate to put in an executive team. If somebody is not qualified or has lack of character, I'll vote no. But I never start off as a no. But here's the lesson from Pam Bondi, Kristen. The AG is supposed to be the nation's chief law enforcement officer and have an independent gravitas and integrity. Pam Bondi threw all that away, and she still got fired. So, look, you can either go in as an attorney general and stand up for the rule of law, and you may make Donald Trump mad, or you can go in and try to just do everything the president wants, and you're going to make him mad. And she basically sold out her own integrity. She couldn't even look at herself in a mirror, and she still got sacked. That should be a lesson to whoever is the next nominee for AG. Be the nation's chief law enforcement officer, and don't let the president cause you to trim your conscience or, become a toady.
All right. Senator Tim Kaine, hope you have a wonderful Easter holiday. Thank you so much for joining us.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.